Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Women's Cave. It's been too long since I've been here. And if you're wondering why you're looking up my nose, I'm wondering the same thing myself. I have not moved the camera and I do not know why. I don't think it's going to happen either. That's what's so sad. I think I got lazy during the time while I was off from the show. And in case you were wondering what I was doing while I was off from the show, I'm going to school to become a mini doctor. Not a real one, just a little one. It's a doctor's assistant. And you can't do both. You really can't. Although if you listen to a bunch of people that are on YouTube, you can. I don't know how they do it, but I can't. I'm not that smart. Anyway, you're not here to hear about me, right? Yeah, right. No, first you got to hear about my books. My bad. Yes. So I'm occasionally intelligent, along with my partner in crime, Jade, who is not here yet again today. We're occasionally intelligent and we write books. And the books are And I Thought Divorce Was Bad and I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy If Only I Were Me, a memoir in verse, Foreign Coffee, Widow's Web, and Widow's Debt. And you can get those books wherever audiobooks are sold. And yes, y'all, you know what time of the show it is. It's sign language time. That is 6 books total. And we have 17. So that means that we are missing. Yes, I did the sign for absent. There are absent 11 books. You can find all 17 books on www.andithoughtLadies.com. Oh, that felt good. I want to do it again, but I feel like I have a real guest here, so I can't. You're not here to hear about me or to hear me do that again. You're here to hear about our wonderful guest. Wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Ron Kinscherf, a relatively new children's book author. Started at the age of 61. I've been doing it for less than 2 years. Found out I'm fairly decent at it. But again, it's something I started late in life. I don't want to say I had a midlife or late life crisis, but I finally found something I really enjoy doing. I've never been happier professionally. So yeah, so that's the basic gist of it.
I have to ask now, something that has nothing to do with books. What's
Sure.
your life crisis?
Well, what happened to me was I was in the corporate world. I sold IT products. I was a consultant for 30 some years. And it got to be a point where I was tired of dealing with the rat race and management and being told what to do and people reading my emails and make sure the content was proper. So yeah, I wasn't sleeping well. I was not fun to be around. And my wife just told me, why don't you just quit? He goes, we'll be okay. Just quit. So I quit. I had no backup plan at that time. So that was my crisis, so to speak. But a crisis can be good. It ended up being good. So that's where I was in my life. And then one thing led to another, and I started writing children's books out of the blue. It was nothing I planned on doing. I was thinking about this earlier today. I don't think I could have done it any earlier in my life because my perspective on books and children's books is so different now that I've had grandchildren. But I just think it came along at a perfect time in my life. The only unfortunate thing is hopefully my life was long enough where I get to enjoy it for an extended period of time. So that's kind of the crisis.
That's how you started. Most people are like, I got older and then I had grandkids. Okay, so what about the grandchildren inspired you?
So, well, when I was looking for regular gigs, we were at a Sunday dinner. My daughter-in-law suggested I start writing children's books because of the method I played with my grandkids. And one thing that did happen is I was putting one down for a nap, and I asked him to pick out he got 2 stories for every nap. So I go pick out 2 books, and he said, "Papa, tell me a story." And I'm like, okay. And I go, about what? I mean, I wasn't prepared. And he looked around the room and picked a medicine bottle. So and you can't say no to your grandchild. I mean, you have to do what he asks. So I had to make up a story on the spot about a medicine bottle. So that's kind of how this got started, because he would go home and then ask his parents to do the same thing. And they would get all mad because it's late at night, their parents, they're tired, and then they would have to come up with some crazy story out of the blue. So I started this trend, and the trend continued. And then the way I played with the grandkids, we'd mix up toys and just make up scenarios and stuff like that. So she thought it'd be an idea. I kind of poo-pooed the idea. And then one day I was out grilling and my grandson was over and he started stomping on anthills in the backyard, and I got my idea. So I wrote a book from the ant's perspective of having some strange being crush their houses. So that's what initiated this path that I'm on right now.
Okay. I just want to say, from the ant's perspective,
Mhm.
actually, I shouldn't say from the ant's perspective. I feel like I now understand the ant's perspective because of what happened to my house. But
Yeah, I mean, it's just imagine if something you knew nothing about would stomp on the roof of your house, and all of a sudden you have to rebuild it every time somebody does that. So I created my own little world of an ant colony underneath a brick patio, and they go through the same trials and tribulations that people do, except they're limited in their resources because they're ants. You know, they don't have metal, they don't have things to build with. So that's kind of where this path led me down. Is I'm releasing my sixth book about this ant colony in a few weeks. So
how much research went into writing?
zero, zero. So what so the ants, I just created my own little world and just gave them human characteristics. You know, there's a queen in charge, and that's another story. But I have a queen in charge, and her son is second command, and he's rather immature, and they just go through things in their lives that I have experienced, or I have seen experienced in, or I've thought about in life, and then I just tell the story through the eyes of these ants and the creatures they're associated with. So that I mean, you know, are there morals to the stories? There are to a degree, but they're not slap. But the messages aren't a slap in the face like some other books. And it's just a part of the story of, you know, getting from point A to point B, and that's just what
Exactly.
I'm trying to do. And then, you know, yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can see how this doesn't need research. Now, I don't often have
Oh,
children's writers on the show,
yeah,
so I would love to know a bit about illustrating. How did you go about getting your illustrations? Did you do it yourself?
no, heavens no. So I'm in a town of about 40,000 people, so I looked locally and I didn't have any luck. So I used a program out there that matches writers with illustrators. And I just interviewed a bunch of people, which was an interesting process because this is my first book. So I'm interviewing people that have done books before. So I was going to be the boss of somebody who's already done this process. So that was kind of a weird relationship. So plus I had no money and I didn't know if this was going to work. So so I found a gal to be my illustrator. She lives up in Minnesota. We have never physically met. This all took place during the pandemic, which isn't a good time to start. But and then we hit it off, and we're on our sixth book together. So that's how I found my illustrator. And then as far as the design goes, I had a picture in my brain what I wanted the characters to look like. We modified that. I knew there's certain things in children's books I did not like that I wanted to have, having read zillions of them now, that I wanted my books to look a certain way. We can talk about that in a minute. So working with the illustrator, we designed my books in a certain way. I wanted to differentiate myself from all other authors because I didn't want my books to be cookie cutter and look like every other book out there, because if they do, I just wanted them to stand out, because I knew if I was going to make it or differentiate myself, they had to be different. You know what I mean? I couldn't write a Berenstain Bears book, or they had to have their own identity. So that was really important when we went through the illustration process. So that, but long story short, I went through this website, like a dating site for authors and illustrators, and got lucky. Found a young gal who was doing it part-time, and now she's doing it full-time, and she's really, really good. So
So when you said that you were looking to be not cookie cutter, how did you I know, because a lot of times you have something in your mind and then
right,
you have to work with someone else that has to bring what's in your mind to life.
right.
It's
So
hard to communicate sometimes your vision.
well,
What did
that's
you
what
do?
so I was paying her, so I was the boss. So that's one thing to remember. But another thing to remember is she has done books before. So I knew nothing about this, nothing about the process. So if we ever got stuck, I would sketch. And I got sketches all over my office here. She goes, Ron, I don't understand what you mean. Can you kind of sketch it out? So I would sketch it out, and then I would kind of show her what I was after, and then we'd modify the ants or the backgrounds. So that was part of it too. another piece of it is I always love the music video, and I don't know if you'll know about this, but by Aha, the Take On Me music video by Aha. And it is a sketchy background, gray sketchy background, and everything that they talk about in the song is color. So there's a lot of color and black and white mixed in together. So I thought, okay, that's always been cool to me. So, and again, I don't know if you've looked at the books on my site or anything, but you'll notice that there's anything that's mentioned in the page is color and everything else is sketchy black and white. So the characters and whatever pops on the page. So that has been a characteristic of the books. And so we'll add little things in the background in color just to tempt the eye, even the adult's eye, because we use humor that kids won't get to attract adults, because adults buy the book and we want to make sure they enjoy reading the book. So there's, I don't want to say inside jokes necessarily, but there's a place in the book where the ants are working out and they're using, one of the gals has leg warmers on. You know, kids not going to know what a leg warmer is, but you know, parents or grandparents my age are going to chuckle at that because they remember leg warmers. Just little things like that. So getting back, so we have color on gray backgrounds. One thing that was critical to me was to make sure the words are on light backgrounds, because there's nothing more frustrating than reading a children's book in a dark room and the lettering is on a dark background. And that happens a lot. So so I knew there were certain things I wanted in my books in order to be different from other books. And those are just a few of the items. But adult humor was big for me, because I wanted the books to be enjoyable for the adults to read too.
Okay,
So,
first of all, I love the fact that you just said adult humor was big for you, because I
mhm.
have to admit, like when you were reading so many children's books and you're just like, oh God, not this again, because you're already
Yep.
bored mentally. But to have, I think what they call it is a family movie in Hollywood. So you've invented kind of like not invented, you have the family genre for books now.
Well, I mean, one part of it is I got a book where a slug is walking across the patio. And I'm thinking, let's just throw a paper clip on the patio or a bottle cap or just something that the adult will see is like, okay, yeah, I've stepped on one of those in my backyard. Just little things like that. I've got my business card on one of the pages. The Council of Ants meet once a week. Okay. They're various, it's like the city council, but it's a colony, and their desk, the table they sit at is my business card. So just little inside humor type things like that that the kids aren't going to get, but maybe the adults will see, and it's kind of cool, kind of unique,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And how do you find your balance in between that? When you're like, okay, this is too much adult.
So,
Is
well,
it
we'll do so like the book we're doing now. We'll do the it's for the kids, and then we'll look at a page and say, you know what, we ought to let's throw something on the wall. And then a lot of it is everything is made out of what ants would find, like acorns and sticks. And in the first book, there's a soda can and a matchstick that's used as an alarm to wake all the ants up. Yeah, so I mean, so we originally had just something completely different, but as we're designing the book, the kids like that, but it's also kind of the adults will chuckle at stuff like that too. But we'll do the book initially for the child, and then we'll look at it when it's done and say, maybe you ought to drop something in here or drop something in there, and kind of go from there. So I mean, the majority of the book is for kids, obviously, but we do throw some things in there from time to time that I find amusing. Whether other people do or not, I don't know. Like
okay?
so one of the things, the first book we did is and again, I had never done this before. My illustrator called me, what do you want to put on the back cover? And that was like, I fall out of my chair a moment, like, heck, I don't know. I've never done this before. And she goes, well, you usually put your picture or stuff like that. It's like, okay, my picture's not going anywhere near this book. So that night I was reading a book. I don't know what book it was, but as I look at the back of the book, it's got all the reviews. And I don't, just New York Times raves, and, Atlantic Monthly says this book is whatever. So I just decided I'm going to make up reviews for my books. And then I put like Ants Illustrated or Better Colonies and Gardens and and say that they have reviewed this book and it was the greatest prose ever. Nobody's ever written a better book for insects. Just stuff like that to just kind of mock that, but also something for parent or adults to look for every time they get one of my books. And I've gotten some response on stuff like that. So just little things like that you throw in. It's self-deprecating and it's supposed to be fun. So it's supposed to be fun for everybody.
Okay. No, I love actually how you've done this and how you've balanced it and the paperclip on the deck and as
Yeah.
the sun goes across. This is ingenious. Okay,
I don't know about that. It's just the way my brain works. So
and this all came from a medicine bottle and telling a story to
yeah,
a
and telling a story. Yeah.
so
That's
mhm.
you're right. That's how it all came about.
Has any of your corporate skills helped you in your creative process?
Creative process, no. Marketing, yes. As you know, it's very difficult to find a niche and make money doing this. I mean, I haven't broken even yet. So I read a lot. What I found out, like in the middle of last year, is my customers don't have any money. So I would go to a school and read, go to a school and read, and they'd all say, "Hey, I love your book. I want to get your book." So I'd send flyers home. I'd never hear back because there's a long chain of events that have to occur when you give a 5-year-old a piece of paper to put in a school bag and then have that piece of paper show back up at the school to order your books. So what I ended up doing is I recruited businesses around town um, to see if they would sponsor a variety of classrooms. So I would go into the school, read to them, and hopefully the sponsor would buy books for those kids, and we hand them out when I left. And then they would get the feel good buying the books, and then they would also post it all over their social media. The so and so company bought books for the first graders at this school, and thanks to Ron for helping us out. So from that aspect, my sales background has definitely helped. But as far as the creative process, my degree's in radio and TV. So so that aspect of it, yeah, a little bit. I've always been creative. I did play-by-play for 25 years. I was on air and radio for a number of years, but I couldn't make a living at it. That's why I got into the sales consulting gig. Um, and then having some sort of a business sense has helped from, managing money coming in and money going out, and knowing what's good business versus what bad business. That has helped a lot. I mean, but I've made mistakes. I mean, I've got way too much inventory sitting behind me just because that's another thing is to get the lower cost in the books to sell, you have to order in bulk. So I've got bulk. Now I will eventually sell those, but they're sitting in my closet behind me right here. So when people come up to me and say, you know what, I've always wanted to be an author. I've got ideas for writing children's books. I go, okay, let's go to lunch because there's a whole lot about this process that you need to think about, copyright, legal, and you've been through all that too. There's just a whole lot that, yeah. So
I was really fortunate because I think I got published at 10 years old, like my
oh,
first.
well, yeah.
So I was really fortunate because I learned a lot. By the
Well,
time I was graduating high school, I had learned a lot. And like 2
yeah.
years later, I was opening my own publishing house.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I'm fortunate that my wife is letting me play.
Yes.
And I do have another job that understands what I'm doing too. So I'm pretty flexible with my hours. But the big thing is my wife lets me play in this realm. And yeah, that's where I'm extremely fortunate.
I'm just happy that you have something that makes you really happy.
Oh,
And more importantly, the question I have been dying to ask.
Yeah.
Did the grandkids like the book?
Yeah, yes, definitely. So I the funniest moment was there's one local one, the oldest one, the one that I read or told the story about the medicine bottle. He kind of helps a little bit because I'll show him various illustrations. I have a book called The Monster that's about a bug that an ant flies into a car and the car leaves. And I've always wondered what happens to that bug when he gets in a car and the car leaves. I mean, where does he go? He's never going to see his family again. So long story short, ants don't know what cars are. They're monsters to them. So I had to have a cover with a monster on it, with the car being a monster. So he helped me pick out the one that was, I had 3 different options. He helped me pick out the cover because I didn't want it to be too scary, but I wanted to be kind of scary because it's a monster. So the older one's involved in the process to a degree. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think he fully understands that I've written a book and created a book. There's another series I have. I only got a couple books out where it is a grandpa putting a grandson down for a nap, and I've used real life comments and moments from that. And when I read that book to the grandson, he goes, "Papa, it doesn't say that." Oh yeah, it does. He goes, "Read it again." "Papa, it doesn't say that," because he was surprised that some things that he had said ended up in the book, and that's fun.
Mm.
That's kind of cool.
Oh my goodness, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's basically the story on those is the grandpa puts him down for a nap, and then the kid picks the topic, and then the grandpa struggles with telling the story, but he comes up with the story. The little boy falls asleep and dreams the rest of the story. And then the risk I took on that one is the illustrations change when the boy falls asleep. So there's 2 distinctly different types of illustrations um,
Wow.
that occur within the, which is I don't think is what you're supposed to do, but I don't care. It's my book. I'll do what I want. And it's but I'm so I've got a couple of those out, and hopefully I'll get to do more. But the next book's out is going to be the Baker's Patio series about the ants.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here
Oh
today.
yeah,
You tell everyone where they can find out more information about you, and more importantly, where they can buy these books for the
yeah,
children in their life.
yeah. They're on Amazon. The where you can find out more about me is my website, and it's www.papatellmeabook.com. So my company is Papa Tell Me a Book for obvious reasons. So yeah, www.papatellmeabook.com, and then yeah, just hop on there. There's biography about me. There's a biography about my illustrator. There's little tidbits from the stories, some previews from each book, and there's reviews out there too. So I've been blessed to get some very good reviews, and you can read those that are associated with each book. So yeah, head out there. It's I mean, I'm really proud of what I've accomplished. I'm surprisingly, I think I'm good at it, but the only people who can tell me whether I'm good at it or not are 5. So that's the interesting part about this.
Thank you so
Oh
much.
no, thank you. It's been fun.
And so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us up over here. And when I say us, I do not mean I think I have 2 people in me. There's normally a Jade, or no, she's normally on this side. There's normally a Jade on this side, but she's busy today and dealing with the little catastrophes that happen in life. But anyway, you didn't come here to hear about my catastrophes. I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about your ladies are at www.andithoughtLadies.com. While you're there, go down to the bottom of the page and you can see the charities that we proudly support. We ask that you think about giving them a little support as you go about your daily life. They need help, be it information or be it cash, whichever it is, they need help. Remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Will Nona and the Missing Jade. Oh yeah, thanks for listening.